Hello, I'm Murray Carter. Welcome to Carter Cutlery's High Performance Tips. Today we're in Southern California at RawHyde Adventures with expert motorcycle riding instructor Jim Hyde. RawHyde Adventures is one of only 9 sanctioned BMW schools in all of the world where you can learn adventure motorcycle riding off-road. Here, Jim and his expert staff will take anybody of any skill set and skill level, and over the course of 2 or 4 days, ratchet them up another 5 or 6 levels and send them on their way where they'll have good skill and, even more importantly, good discretion to ride off-road and not ride foolhardy. And that'll keep them safe and that'll help them get better.
Damn straight.
Jim's going to show us a lot of tips and techniques over the course of the next couple of days that we're going to share with you guys, our viewers, that are going to help you with your motorcycle riding skills as well. Are you ready, Jim?
Absolutely, Murray. Let's do it.
Okay.
Okay, Murray, for our first exercise here, all I want you to do is make your best judgments about what you think you ought to do as you travel through this course that's chalked out in white. What this is it's a test, in essence, that we put our beginning students through at the end of their first day of training, because it forces them, if they remember everything we've taught them, it forces them to apply every lesson we've learned in the first day in one short course. So let's see how you do.
Great. And where's our finish line?
The finish line is to you'll follow the white line until you dart through a set of trees over there.
Yes,
and
sir.
You'll just come right back to this.
Okay, right here. So we'll meet up here.
Meet right back here. Let's see how you do.
Okay.
There's no right, there's no wrong. Just give it your best shot.
And no rush?
And no rush.
No right, no wrong, no rush. Great.
Start there. Not bad. You did far better than I hoped.
You hope that.
Because there's less for me to tell you. Good job. Really good job, actually.
It's from navigating with us Japanese for 18 years.
There you go. There are a couple things I noticed that would, 3 things in specific that I noticed that will enhance a second pass. Number 1, even though you have good innate balance, I can tell that from the way you rode through. You were riding on the arches of your feet. You were standing with the foot peg squarely on your arch. You have a better sense of balance just because of the way our bodies are designed to stand. You have a better sense of balance on the bike if you're on the balls of your feet. Makes it harder to get to the rear brake. However, for most of it, you don't need the rear brake. The rear brake, however, one thing that will make this downhill tight left-hand turn easier, you used your front brake as you went through that, and you kept stabbing the front brake, and I could see the nose of the bike doing this. Now you controlled it beautifully, but it'll be a lot smoother if you just drag the rear brake. Hands off the front brake, because especially in turns, if you're going any faster, you get in trouble using the front brake in a turn. So you always want to drag the rear brake through a turn. It doesn't cause the attitude of the bike to change. It's like a gentle pull from behind instead of a stabby nosedive
where you're shifting your center of balance.
Yep. The other thing that I was looking for, which is typical, is the guys will follow the white line, just like they'll try to keep their tires on it, rather than making decisions about how to change the radius of a turn to make a smoother, easier turn. Almost every time guys get in trouble down in that off-camber left-hand turn, you did really well because you've got a good sense of balance and you kept the bike vertical. But if you swing wider, drag your rear brake through, go ahead and get your body a little more to one side. I noticed too in your turns, you're focusing on keeping the bike perfectly upright and kind of making little adjustments as you go through a turn. If you just let the bike lean a little, get your weight over to one side and try to counterbalance the bike, you'll probably go through smoother. So on the balls of your feet, less front brake, drag the rear brake through the turn, shift your body weight a little, and don't follow the line, but rather make choices about how to get around. And let's see how you do in a second pass.
Okay, great. Balls of the feet. Don't stab the front brake, use the left brake dragging through a turn.
Drag the rear brake, balls of your feet.
Lean the motorcycle and counterbalance. I'll give it a whirl.
Okay. All right, so critique and an observation. My guess is you're a fairly cocky guy in life, okay? And that's a positive thing. The way you changed your riding technique from first pass to second, you have good talent, good natural talent. Two things did occur. One is you followed that white line almost as though it were a slot car track. And what got you in trouble in that one turn is you were still following the line. You were going too fast for the turn and you didn't choose your own line. You were following the line. And we actually set these, we chalk this out in such a way that the average rider is not going to be able, they will get themselves in trouble if they follow the white line. You did really good getting your feet back on the pegs, on the balance point. That was great. You counterbalanced perfectly. You just missed that turn because you were following the line rather than picking your own path. And you are a pretty cocky guy.
Oh, well.
It shows in the way you ride, it shows the way you use the clutch. You're a little aggressive with the release and throttle. You know, you had little wheel spins here and there, which is all fine. It has nothing to do with ability. It shows me a little about the nature of the guy. So it's all good. You want to try it again, or are we?
Yeah, I'm going to try a happy balance. What I was really hoping for there is I was thinking if I had a little bit more velocity, I might be able to keep it smoother. And then when I was in the corner, you're right, I didn't pick a good line, but I was waiting to see what the rear brake effect was going to do.
Got it.
And I was kind of waiting for something to happen, like as if my rear end was going to spin around a little bit.
Not at those speeds.
And then I ran out of
turn. So let me tell you what you need to do on that turn to be smooth and to get through it. Anytime you can, you need to pick as wide a line as you possibly can through every turn, unless you're consciously trying to teach yourself how to shorten a turn. You want to go as wide as you can because it gives you the most amount of reaction time and it gives you the greatest canvas to work with. You've got more room to adjust. So before you even enter that turn, your right handlebar should be scraping the tape. Go deep into the turn, even let the handlebar push the plastic tape out of the way a little bit.
This is the right handlebar.
The right handlebar. You want to be on the high side of the turn.
The high side of the turn.
Yep, because that gives you the greatest length to enter the turn before you have to actually change direction.
Sure, you're on the far side before you come in the turn.
And start riding your rear brake before you even get into the turn.
Riding the rear brake before you get in the turn.
Because that way you're not in the middle of the turn trying to do two things at once. Find the brake and make your turn. So you want to, whenever you can, you always want to establish your brake friction before you actually begin to turn the bike.
That way you got more sensitivity to
You're
it.
right there.
Yeah.
You're not feeling for the free play. You've already cleared the free play and now you're on the brake.
Okay.
So that's really the only thing to work with on that, on this course. You did really well.
Well, I'll give it a third whirl. I would try to balance between the first and second performance.
Yeah, an observation in general, smooth is both safe and fast. And you're a little jerky with the clutch release. I can see the bike surge, you know, as you move in and off the brake. And rolling the throttle too, I see little wheel spins, things like that. So in the racing world, they say smooth is fast.
Yep.
More
Gunfighting too.
probably.
Yep. Slow is smooth and smooth is fast is what they say.
All right, let's talk about your last two passes. And I mean, you're doing well. You're a good rider, but improvement is all about finesse, little tiny tips that help improve the overall
that's what
picture.
We're here for. Yep.
Absolutely.
It's a tip.
So the thing that I noticed most clearly on that last pass, in that trouble, in the corner that's giving you some trouble, is you're stabbing the brake, okay? You'll be able to hear on the film, you'll hear clunk, 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 clunk as your way through the turn. The way you get through any turn like that is you drag the brake. You establish your friction before you enter the turn, and you apply it just enough to drag through the corner. You don't want to be on and off the brake. That does two things. It forces you to mentally break your concentration to make this make this happen, And in the process of doing that, you almost always kind of glance down to just see what your foot's doing. It breaks your concentration. You want to set yourself up to go through a turn where the only thing you're thinking about is your line through the turn. The brake is just gently applied, a little bit of drag, and frankly, to go through a course like this with finesse, you're going too fast. You really are. If you slow down another 15%, I told you last pass, drop it 15%, drop it another 15%, and you'll be smoother through the whole thing.
Okay. All right. When you say I want some friction and I want to drag that rear wheel, is the wheel stop moving?
No, you don't want to skid. You want to, let's just say that
you want to. Is it a feel you're trying to develop? As it's pulling the back of your motorcycle?
Yeah, you just want to feel as though what you need to know is the bike is slowing a little bit because you're dragging the rear brake. If you look at the application of a brake from 0, meaning you haven't even touched it, to 100%, which means it's locked up, you want to be at 20% brake application. You want the brake pad to have contacted the rotor. You want it dragging, but not with a whole lot of force. And this is part of that whole finesse thing that I talked about this morning, is just knowing how much you need to apply to accomplish the task you're seeking. For this, to put it into percentage terms, if you're dragging 20% of your potential for brake force, that's just enough that if the bike was lifted up off the ground, you'd have to go like this to make the wheel turn against the brake. It wouldn't freewheel like a bicycle will.
Okay.
Okay, so process that and give it a shot. Good job, dude. That was awesome. Oh, that was textbook.
Well, that's what expert instruction will do for you, and I'm sure your expert instruction will do that for any student who comes here.
I'd like to think so. Yeah. But you figured out on that last pass the right line and the right speed, and applying the brake at the right time allowed you to just ease through that corner that you have been struggling with. Yeah. So that was perfect.
That second tip of pigeon toeing your toe in there to get on top of that little lever on top of the rear brake, that really helped. And I'm starting to develop a little bit of a feel for it.
Yep.
I have no doubt if I go home and practice that a bunch on grass.
It'll be second nature.
Yeah.
Good job. Perfect.
You know, Jim, I've been riding for, we figured, 26 years.
Okay.
And yeah, I've got over 100,000 miles on motorcycles. And that tip there, I mean, that was like, I feel like a beginner learning that. It's like an epiphany.
Yeah, cool.
And that's a Carter Cutlery high performance tip.